Hello, welcome to the realm of ideas is free to all and it's real, very, very, very real. Okay, this is a series of ruminations that Art Science Complex conducts once a week. We have a preview on Wednesday, and then we have our main program here on early Sunday morning. So this is episode 89, the value of what we hold of indifference. Probably our most bizarre title, but certainly one I think that once you listen to what we have to say, you may kind of realize there's something to it. One of the things we do is we kind of talk about, some of these ruminations are about things that kind of just go through our minds as we kind of think about our work and the way it relates to the world and society in general, or, society on its own. But the principles and the ideas. Oh, hi, P. Oh, hi, Peely, or Prin, or Princessa. Okay, so that's our number one fan. Hello, our number one fan. Best show in the world. Oh, that's so cool. Actually, I have to be honest, it's been really impressive. We had two shows in the last couple of weeks that went over 100 views. We had one that was over 150 views, and we're almost at 500 subscribers, which is bizarre. I mean, honestly, I would tune in to listen to Julie talk, but I mean, again, Julie's not even here right now, so I don't know, but it's been an interesting adventure. So, where does this title come from? I talked about Ortega and the revolt of the masses. Talked about it a lot, and I think that he identifies basically two types of people. The one he was offered, the one that was basically the title of the book, which is the masses, and the other one was, the extraordinary, or kind of, the what he called the aristocratic individual. And by aristocracy, he didn't mean like a kind of actual social kind of like hierarchical structure like in the royal family, but more kind of like a nobility intellectually, or kind of like in terms of their responsibility. The ordinary man puts no responsibility or obligations on himself and just accepts everything as if it was his right. And the noble man puts upon himself the obligations, try to understand the destiny which is to come through the circumstance of society. So one of those things is basically trying to see that which we hold of indifference. So what I mean by that is, at any time as you transition from one time, oh, you are the noble man. Oh, and you're the noble woman. All right, so I appreciate that. I think by that, I mean, the meaning is that you follow along with something that you deem to be larger, more significant than yourself, and see that as that which you're going to come to appreciate, that destiny, which is your circumstance. Ortega always said, one of his more famous statements was, I am myself and my circumstance. And I think to kind of be able to kind of find yourself, to be in the midst and in the essence of what that is a lifetime's work. And it's something that I think also, as I've come to matured in my thought, if I have such a thing as possible, the idea of process allows that to be an ongoing thing. And in terms of what I believe we are at the moment, we are emerging into what I would call an organic age. And in that organic age, we see the possibilities of what we will take with us, that we inherit, that we bring with us, as well as what are those things that may be transfigured or transformed and may change and give us kind of direction to that which is going to be the new. So that which is held of indifference may be as if something that we perceive, but not necessarily recognize its true significance. It's always easy after the fact to say, Oh, yeah, well, of course, Picasso. Or, oh, yeah, well, of course, Einstein. Oh, yeah, well, of course, Leibniz or whoever. But the point is, the reality is, at the point where certain things happen, there are few people, preciously few people, who see that indifference and can understand why that indifference is something that needs to be questioned. That there is a tremendous significance and value in something that was never truly appreciated, or basically has been transfigured into something else. So I read the other day from the beginning of uh, the life, noble life, and common life of effort and inertia. I'm going to read a little more from that. The mass man would never have accepted authority external to himself had not his surroundings violently forced him to do so. As today, his surroundings do not so force him. The everlasting mass man, true to his character, ceases to appeal to other authority and feels himself lord of his own existence. On the contrary, the select man, the noble man, the excellent man is urged by interior necessity to appeal from himself to some standard beyond himself, superior to himself, whose service he freely accepts. Let us recall that at the start, we distinguish the excellent man from the common man by saying what the former is the one who makes great demands on himself, and the latter the one who makes no demands on himself, but contents himself with what he is and is delighted with himself. Contrary to what is usually thought, it is the man of excellence and not the common man who lives in essential servitude. Now, because society has imposed its will, and the common man has often, because of his lack of ability to kind of create value, has been subjugated. That doesn't mean that he necessarily understands or appreciates the freedom that which he has. And in this case, that's been the case. So, with that said, as a beginning, what's new in Julie? This is Julie.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, oh, can you move the arrow off my face?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
That's nice.
There you go, P.
Well.
Oh, and before we forget,
yeah.
Thank you to our sponsor, the great Tea's Tea. And given the fact that it's a cauldron here in New York City, we want to have a refreshing mint.
Yes, we do. And this is our last mint because we've had a lot of trouble finding it.
I know.
Yes, I wish it was.
I think the guy says he's going to have some more Monday.
Well, that'd be nice. Thank you.
Julie gets the first.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, appreciate you, P, for looking after me.
No problem. That's what I'm here for. Anyway, what I thought I would do, since I finished a drawing last week, and I thought it was key for a lot of reasons, to embark upon a brand new portrait, a metaphorical science portrait, because that's what I do, of Bruce right here. So what I've done is Bruce, being a practicer of organic architecture, speculative architecture, organic design thinking, which is something Bruce developed and we do here at Art Science Complex, I have started drawing a portrait of Bruce as blister beetle architecture. And the portrait is called Renaissance of the Triangulum. Now, we all know what Renaissance means. Very few of us know what a triangulum is. It sounds like a Romulan. It sounds like an alien race. What?
They were Star Trek creatures.
Yes, it does sound like a noble alien race in Star Trek. There were the Vulcans, the Romulans, the Triangulans. They simply missed out on that one, but they didn't know. What they are the ingenious architects, in fact, the larvae of the blister beetle. And for those of you who watched any 70s porn, bet you didn't see that one coming.
No.
I surprise you all the time. Spanish fly, for all those who
Oh, I
were
heard of that.
familiar with, well,
What was that?
blister beetle.
Really?
That
So
was
it was a
made
thing?
from blister beetle. Oh, that was a real thing. And in fact, it's real toxic and real fatal.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was used by a famous French madam who was a professional fortune teller and poisoner in the 1600s in France, and took down most of the French nobility, because when someone wanted to take a new lover or ascend to a power and they wanted their spouse off, she would poison them. In fact, she was responsible for the deaths of probably over 2,500 people.
Nice.
A lot of them using organic poisons, but we're not going to get into that. But what I will do is show Bruce, because he can see it for the first time, and it will be a fun surprise, because it is right here. A fun surprise. And it will be a diptych. It is not a diptych yet, but it will be. And here you are, and it is quite something. You're going to love this.
Oh, my goodness. My goodness.
Yeah. You all get to see Bruce seeing this portrait of him for the first time. I did this entire portrait today. The only thing I had time to do yesterday was, in fact, just sketching out the bare lines. All of the color you see, the layers of dimensional colored pencil that I built up as if they were oil paints, was from an hour and a half of work today. What do you think?
I see my disjointed and somewhat kind of fragmented character. I kind of see the kind of somewhat distressed, kind of frail, kind of fighting back. My eye looks tired and kind of like worn. My face looks worn and kind of like somewhat broken and twisted, which does fit my feeling.
Your
right
persona.
now.
But what you don't see yet, because I haven't put it in yet, are the elements of blister beetle architecture. Now they too were very much under siege. They are larvae. They were eaten by absolutely everything, and they mounted not a defense. They went on an architectural offensive, which is what I see you doing, by the power of their ingenuity, their imagination. And people do not credit insects with having imagination. And an insect, and I will say this here, and it is a very rare thing to say, insects are not the automatons people think they are. They are very much individuals, and they are individuals who make choices, have likes, have preferences. This isn't a Disney touchy-feely thing. They're also ingenious architects. So what the triangulans do that Bruce does, and you are going to see this as I progress this, is you build your way out of your predicaments. You imagine your way out, you construct a way out, you find ways to get inside the enemy camp that are such a brilliant thing that you can function, work your magic, go about your business, then thrive, then flourish while you vanquish an enemy inside their camp. So, to make a long story short, what is coming out of Bruce and through Bruce is a rebob. That's a rebob.
Interesting.
If you want to hold it up quick.
Oh, yeah.
What is a rebab, you ask? It is a musical instrument from the gamelan orchestra, because your last name is Gemmel.
Oh, yes, it is.
And the gamelan orchestra, not just a verbal pun, a rebab is a crucial core instrument used also in healing rituals. It is a healing ritual instrument used in Indonesia. So it means something really, really key, and the bow is cutting through. And what's going to happen is the spiral turns of the rebab, and it's carved and it's turned. I will be turning into blister beetle architecture. And what the blister beetle does, which is quite ingenious, and what Bruce here draws and builds and writes about and thinks about, is ingenious. You can think your way out of anything. You have an incredibly powerful mind. That's what this is about.
Interesting.
So the blister beetle, these sightless larvae that can barely move, they can't crawl, they can't fly, they're at the mercy of everyone and everything. What do? What they actually do in the natural world, they imitate a female digger bee, an enormous bee. I mean, like 50 times their size, en masse. And they sculpt the form of a female digger bee. Not just in one way, in many, many, many ways. So a male digger bee flies over, because guess what the beetle larvae do? And it's the only animal that can do it. And it is the same kind of thing that you do. You exude a strength of conviction and a belief in your own abilities in the same way. They are the only animal to reproduce the scent of a flower. No other animal can.
Interesting.
A fungus can, but they're not a fungus. So the male digger bee comes, and they all hitch a ride. And because he thinks he's mating with a female digger bee, their bioarchitecture is that convincing. They fly away, and now they have wings. They have his wings. And you have the wings of the power of your cognition. And that's what this is about. Then a real female digger bee goes to mate with the male who's carrying the triungulins. They transfer to her because she's the one who builds an underground rocky nest, and they eat every single digger bee larvae, and they take over, and they triumph. And that's what this drawing is about.
Interesting.
Now, what do you think?
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Excellent. And it's going to be a diptych. Yay.
I mean, there's been a feeling lately of a kind of sense of like just an onslaught.
That's what I mean.
Just ridiculous, haphazard circumstance.
Yes.
But the reality is, I know that all that really is necessary is for there to be a pause and the ability to sustain the natural forward motion.
Yes.
So I don't know if I would say there's more likely to be tenacity than ingenuity here, because I think that like most of my resolve comes from that kind of tenacity.
Yeah, we'll see this again, just so you know.
Cool.
And they are tenacious too. I mean, they're incredibly so. I mean,
well, I think one of the things that I see in general in our society is that those people who exude traditions of resilience and genius are under siege. There's an onslaught by what I would call the rabble detritus, or the mob, that seems to have been unleashed to be able to kind of like air its resentment and its hostility and its bitterness towards those things of greatness, of legacies of consequence. And I feel as if there is a bare minimum by which such a thing exists, the first one is resolve and tenacity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I find that if there's something that alienates me from people around me, it's usually my conviction more so
Mm-hmm.
than my talent, right? And I find that I don't know why it is, but my conviction seems to unnerve people. And it's never made people comfortable, but the way in which it unnerves people today seems to be at a greater degree.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's because not only has the mass man advanced, he has taken hold of many aspects of society. And though it's not sustainable, it is certainly a circumstance that has to be acknowledged. I think that America is a great nation because it has allowed people of great diverse backgrounds to
Mm-hmm.
come and contribute
Mm-hmm.
to a kind of common goal of making this country a better place, a more complex, intricate, sophisticated place. And I think there's been I'd say, an antithetical movement that has gained in strength and has identified those things that are most noble as to be uh, kind of hostile or demonized.
Anyway,
So
so that was your brand new portrait.
Thank you. Look forward to seeing it being completed, my loved one.
Thanks.
Right.
Would shall I launch into the?
Yes.
Okay.
From that which comes, what is to be.
Well, we are going to talk about a few very interesting things, which no one's going to see coming.
Mm-hmm.
One of which
I certainly never do. That's why I get to tune in and have a front row seat.
Thank you, P. Okay. Feast your mind on this.
Oh, nice.
That's a new one.
Mm-hmm.
The unfounded apathy and dangerous indifference regarding the human appendix. I can raise Bruce's eyebrows. Very few people can, actually. So, most people have absolutely no idea of the vital functions of the human appendix. So, there is abundant evidence, and in fact, people have been yanking out the human appendix for decades with very bad after effects and very deleterious, speaking physiologically, results. So, evidence of the vital function of the appendix is manifested by this fascinating fact. Think about anything that evolves separately time and again. Could that thing be unimportant? No, it couldn't possibly be unimportant. What if evolution prompts the development of an organ over and over and over, not in one species, try 32 species? So, if you want to wow people at your next cocktail party with this bit of information, in fact, the human appendix has evolved at least 32 independent times. Now, when I say independent, I'm talking about independent emergence points, meaning the point at which something emerges. Do you need a hand? And comes to light and persists 32 separate times that we know about, meaning probably more, probably a lot more, across diverse mammalian species. So independent points of origin, because the appendix is that important in animals and in humans. What does it do? It is a safe house for storing helpful gut bacteria. And how important is that?
One of the things that's interesting is over the course of many years, many decades now, not many decades, but a few decades of reading Science magazine, I've come to see certain fields emerge
Mm-hmm.
that didn't exist. I'd say probably like 10 to 15 years ago, started to hear about the idea of microbiomes and the connection between the appendix and the microbiome. And
It's
now the gut,
fierce.
yes,
Yes.
not. And I mean, most times when people talk about the microbiome, they don't realize there's a diverse range of microbiomes. Most people refer to, because it's the one that's been most studied, the gut microbiome.
Yes.
But the appendix is directly related. So this renaissance of the
Mhm.
appendix and its current machination is only a result of the fact that there's the rediscovery. It has been the discovery of the importance of the gut microbiome.
Yes. Absolutely. Oh, should I?
Yeah.
Okay. So and this is a really keen analogy that you will love, having been a
Hmm.
professor for many, many
Uh-huh.
years. Not going to see this
Hmm.
coming. The appendix acts as a university, that's my term, to train immune cells. Now, think about that function. What goes into training immune cells? I have a whole analysis here. I don't have time for all of this, but I will say that immune training mechanisms, think about it. How is the body trained? How can the body recognize harmful pathogens? And how can it recognize basically a substance that is beneficial or benevolent or friendly or vital? It's trained. And it's trained by the appendix university. So I see it as the body's immune library books. And I will split this into 3 books for you, each about the appendix. Lymphoid follicles, okay? There's a childhood version in all of us. This is mind-blowing of your appendix.
Oh.
It morphs completely into an adolescent book in your immune system library. Then it morphs into an adult card catalog in your library. How? It matures because it grows with you and your appendix learns with you. This is a completely novel idea. And most people, they're still yanking out appendixes. There are doctors and GPs who don't know about this. So anybody watching is going to know things that a lot of people in the medical world, and I am not a doctor, but a lot of doctors are not up on this. It is a smorgasbord of microbial sampling. Now, as an architect and thinker, do you have a thought on microbial sampling? Meaning,
yeah,
yes,
I have an idea.
Oh, sure, yeah.
I have a friend who just came back from Finland, where he was on he had a fellowship. What was it called? Oh God, my brain is broken.
It'll be called Race to the Finish.
Yeah, it's funny.
I don't know.
He had Fulbright.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he had a Fulbright scholarship, and he's
great.
maybe getting another one to go back to the Czech Republic and study Mendel. And what was interesting was he talked about when he had come to a local institution and was aghast at the condition of its collection.
Not surprised.
So I think what this comes to mind is that we decided we're going to write an essay on the lack of priority in our society of legacy. And by legacy means those things that are fundamental to the principles and the artifacts by which you base your society. Now, I think one of the things, and we've talked about this, especially recently, about the fact that with the animosity and jealousy and envy that we see towards the great genius of our society, there are a lot of people who basically attack the legacy. They attack the collections, and they don't want to honor them. Now, again, there's the people who are actively hostile, and then there are people who are going to be indifferent.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing about the indifferent people is they're just as much committed to the cause of letting these things uh, slip away as are the people who actually want to destroy them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we know that what's important is to understand the way in which, at any particular point, those things which we hold of indifference are actually the places where we can see and chart the change of direction. So at a certain moment when
They're
something
vital strongholds.
exactly. And in a
Mhm.
way, the appendix is the same thing. It is the legacy of your gut microbiome. It basically is a registry which
Mhm.
with you can reset that which you need to basically be
And I will
successful.
tell you why.
Why?
Why? We're all going to love. Why would you need a reset? Food poisoning,
Mm-hmm.
getting sick,
Mm-hmm.
being in the hospital,
Mm-hmm.
being ill, being compromised, having immune problems. What the appendix does is it holds what you need to be replenished. It is a repository of immune defense weapons, a veritable arsenal of T cells, of B cells, and incredibly thick layers like a rose wrapped over and over of lymphoid tissue. And why lymphoid tissue? Would you like me to tell you?
I would guess it was because it has the ability to kind of capture a tremendous amount of information in a very dense, kind of condensed manner.
Precisely. And because it resculpts itself, it models itself. It's like a self-sealing stem bolt in Deep Space Nine. It's mind-blowing.
So
Yes.
there's okay. When I think about Crick and Watson and Rosalind Franklin, I think about the double helix and the discovery of that. Think about the idea of understanding proteins and how we come to understand how amino acids kind of fold and kind of like polypeptide chains are formed and proteins kind of manage to kind of create this incredible architecture. It seems like what you're saying is an essential part of our gut microbiome registry, right, is housed here. And then, in fact, this is something that we should assume in the next 5 to 10 years will have a name. It'll be recognized as a certain thing.
I've given it one.
Oh, say.
Hidden utility.
Nice. But
yes.
This thing.
This thing, yes.
That has a certain, kind of circumstance will be identified as an important aspect in terms of its registry.
Yes.
And, registries are those things that are incredibly precious. And a librarian is an essential person because until geniuses come and overwrite the new guiding principles, the librarian is the essential caretaker who basically kind of comes from that genius that he didn't understand to the next genius that he doesn't understand, but will understand his importance in being biographically caretaking that which is precious. So the registry is essential, and a caretaker to that registry, in this case, a librarian, is someone who is essential. The librarians are missing at the current time in our society.
Yes, true. And curiously, this was a faux pas on Darwin's part, and I'm a huge fan, and he was incredibly observant. But in this one point,
He owes me money.
It's funny. He owes all the animals money.
Oh.
But in this one point, he failed to recognize the importance of the appendix in animals and humans, and basically called it a vestigial organ and an atavistic one. Now, what he didn't know, the appendix is a recognition lens. And that is my term. It is a recognition lens. It is an apparatus to spot and confront and obliterate harmful germs or bacteria or pathogens. It recognizes them. And here's how I see the evolution of the appendix's hidden utility. So the ancient appearance of the appendix trait went on to maintenance of the appendix trait. And I use the word trait intentionally. This is a trait that developed over and over again as well. So it would have been basically evolved out and made vestigial, but in fact, quite the opposite happened. It was developed over and over, not across 1,000 years, not a million, many, into hidden utility. And I'll cover two quick other things. So the appendix is a smorgasbord, like I said, of microbial sampling. How? You're going to love this. It samples for the immature white blood cells in your body. So all the white blood cells to taste, and that's my word, taste all of the diverse bacteria lining your gut wall table. I'll say this again because it's such a beautiful idea that I think we can apply to so many things. This is the artistry of the appendix, and this is so overlooked. People are indifferent. People in the medical fields are apathetic. So I will say this again because it's such a beautiful idea. The appendix is a smorgasbord of microbial sampling for immature young white blood cells in an entity, human, animal, to taste like a wine tasting, a cheese tasting, all of the diverse bacteria lining your gut wall feast table. And that is a great idea. Tolerance versus defense, safety versus interloper, teaching the B and T cells what it means to be a hero, what it means to be a villain in the body. I can see this fired your mind.
Yeah, we speak a lot about Diderot, and we speak about the encyclopedia. And in his case, I think Diderot thought it was very vitally important to understand and appreciate the incredible vanitas that was the society in which we lived, and that it was necessary to be able to document, because he understood how incredibly frail and fragile these principles and these ideas and these vocations were. I think the same seriousness should be taken as regards registries. Now, the librarian and the registry is that place by which we parse out and analyze those things that are the principles that we need to understand in order to maintain connection between the past and present and the future. Because there is the only way to kind of understand where we're going, where we are, is kind of to be connected to where we've been, and to constantly be able to kind of put these things together and continually analyze and try to understand them. But I think without the librarian and the maintenance of the registry, everything falls apart. Now, we have this tendency, and I don't know who it is we're trying to impress, but I think there was a time when we went from being effective to trying to make a case for ourselves as a society. And I think at the point where we just kind of keep making new things to kind of show our prowess in gadgetry is very different than improving the lot of the individuals who will be those people who will come forth with imagination, creativity, and curiosity. So I think that's something that I guess we can start to untangle as well, is who things are, what they are, who they're for, and what the purpose is. Now, again, next week, I think, is that the one? It's like, perfect. The proximity of the future. Now, again, I bring that up because when I was 10 years old in 1969, after the World Fair in 1964, The future seemed right at my fingertips. What's funny is 50 years on, that same future has taken a certainly slightly different form in the fact that rather than being the desires of nations, it's now the desire of individuals. But that same future seems to still be hovering in the distance, but it's not at our fingertips. I remember, the idea of people saying certain things would be accomplished in a certain amount of years. The only difference is 1970 turned into 2020, into
And rather
2040.
quickly, too.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I mean, the thing is, I'm hearing people say that by 2030 we may such and such. And I remember the same task, the same objective was being looked upon as being obtained by 1970. So for me, that's kind of part and parcel of this whole exercise, is that where was it that we lost our conviction? Where was it that we went from kind of having the ability to kind of appreciate what we were doing, and when did we start to become self-loathing?
Mhm.
And why were those self-loathing elements allowed to rise?
Okay.
Okay.
I will finish up with a beautiful thought about the appendix, and I'm going to move on to neurotoxins in popular foods. You're going to love
Nice.
this, which people are completely indifferent to and
So let me
apathetic
see if
to.
I
Yes,
can
yes.
recap here.
Sure.
So the appendix is basically the organ which allows for the registry. So in the needs for a reset because of trauma, you can go back and kind of like reintroduce those things that are necessary and essential.
Yes, specifically the
Interesting.
appendix is a microbial refuge, that's my word, a sanctuary to harbor beneficial bacteria to survive an illness, food poisoning, severe diarrhea. So if you don't have one, this is what kicks in to then repopulate the severely altered and not in a good way compromised digestive tract. And it does something else that's going to blow your mind, which is akin to a library, which many people mistakenly think of as a passive dead repository of books. It is nothing like that. It is a living, breathing entity full of organs and systems that interact with anyone who is lucky enough to walk through the doors and absorb its graceful beauty and its knowledge. So,
as we say,
yes,
an integration of processes, not a collection of parts.
Beautifully said. Which is the final thing our amazing appendix does. You're going to love this. It doesn't just protect, it produces, like all great things. And they didn't know that. What does it produce? It doesn't just harbor, which is incredibly important. It is far more than a sanctuary. Like a library or librarian produces what I call the private scholar. And the private scholar or pocket scholar or a pochette scholar, to put it in musical terms, a pochette is a pocket violin. And I've done several drawings about it, used by visiting dance masters. It was very, very affordable. It was portable. It was literally kept in the pocket. So you could bring the beauty and wonder and grandeur of classical music for a very inexpensive price rather than a super expensive, out of reach, classical instrument that very few people could afford. So the pochette scholar is a product of a grand system of libraries. And segue right to the appendix. The appendix is a veritable fountain of antibody production. It produces a font of something called immunoglobulin A, meaning IgA. So Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
as a physiological process,
Hmm.
the appendix is a self-evolving
Yes, it changes
registry
all the time.
that is
Yep.
capable of overriding that which has been for that which is necessary.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly, in the
It
artificial
tracks, it
case,
progresses.
in
Yeah.
the artificial case of a
Mhm.
registry held by a librarian,
Hmm.
right? The registry that is overwritten by genius as it produces innovation is not something the appendix is kind of basically thwarted by.
No,
The
not at
appendix
all.
has the ability to recognize that which we've talked about, which
Mhm.
is the ability to understand the value of what we hold of indifference. That's incredible because
Beautifully put.
that the appendix, as an organic physiological consequence,
Mhm.
has that ability to be able to identify it. Now, the problem with institutions in the artificial sense is they oftentimes basically don't have that ability, which brings me to the piece that I kind of saw in terms of adventure of ideas, chapter 19, adventure. Okay. These standards have served the Western race well, but the procedure has its disadvantages. It is backward looking and it is limited to one type of social excellence. Today, the world is passing into a new stage of its existence towards new excellence. New knowledge and new technology have altered the proportions of things. The particular example of an ancient society sets too static an ideal and neglects the whole range of opportunity. It is really not sufficient to direct attention to the best that has been said and done in the ancient world. The result is static, repressive, and promotes a decadent habit of mind. Also, I suggest that the Greeks themselves were not backward thinking or static compared to other neighbors. They were singularly unhistoric. They were speculative, adventurous, eager for novelty,
Mm.
right? The most un-Greek thing that we can do is to copy the Greeks, for emphatically they were not copyists. So Whitehead
Yes.
identifies that artificial circumstance that
Mhm.
Julie has seen does not exist in the physiological consequence of the appendix. It has the ability to be able to see the value of what is held of indifference. We struggle with that.
Yes.
It is a crisis for us.
Mhm.
It is something we're not necessarily good at.
Mhm.
It's something that a few individuals may be able to identify at any particular time. And then later on, the society will say, oh, but of course, Mozart. Oh, but of course, such and such. Oh, but of course.
Hindsight is always 20/20.
Right. But it's amazing how much we really don't focus on that incredibly subtle but profound reason is that we struggle with this. We've never been good at it. But once it's exposed to us, we are like, oh, sure. As I often say, simplicity is never easy. It's incredibly difficult. And I think that's very misleading because people will see someone who's brilliant at someone, brilliant on the piano,
and they
brilliant
make
on
it
the
look
cello.
very easy, and it's far from that.
The fact that someone makes something look easy is indicative of the fact that it's really not.
Yes.
It's that individual. So a lot of times, in fact, this pisses Julie off a lot. Someone will come and say, oh, it must be great to have talent. And Julie's response is
I have spent decades and decades cultivating my talent. I work at it every hour of the day, and it is an enormous amount of experience and exercise, dedication, and sheer hard work. And they don't understand any of that. They actually act like it's magic. And they say, oh, Did you just start that? And it'll be a drawing I've been working on for weeks because people have no concept of the complexities and the stratification of talent and how it manifests. I do have something really key to say, though.
Say.
Okay. So people eat an enormous range of foods, and there is a perplexing human indifference towards gleefully eating, and this is gastronomical hubris, or dangerously misplaced apathy stemming from an ignorance of what this range of foods known to contain very potent, often fatal, natural toxins or poisons. Now, these foods, these animals and plants.
Where did the time go?
I don't know,
it's
but
wrap
I
up
just
time.
want to try to do this.
Sorry,
Puddle.
P. Sorry, P. Sorry,
Okay.
P.
I could do this if you let me do this. Okay. This
Sorry,
is
P.
really interesting. Why would animals and plants have an abundance of gates, guards, weapons, and toxins to protect themselves from predators and pests? We, the humans that are harvesting them and eating them, and I always love it when a vegan gets all preachy and says, "Oh, we don't want to kill any animals. We should just eat plants." Okay, I'm going to launch into this now. Cassava. You'll go to any bar, a trendy bar, and you'll see yucca fries or cassava fries. The roots which those are made out of are highly toxic with cyanogenic glycosides. And guess what they turn into in the human body? Hydrogen cyanide.
Cyanide's
Yes.
not good.
No. And in fact, if the chef and a short order cook working in an Irish bar does not know this, if these are not properly boiled, soaked, boiled, and fermented, they're not even remotely safe. I'm going to move on to escargot because this is great. I once got, as a child, unbelievably sick with food poisoning when I went to visit a ridiculous family member upstate and was taken to a pretentious French place, which was not a good French place, just a pretentious one in the sticks in the middle of nowhere with a chef who obviously had no idea how the French really prepare. Okay, if anyone ever goes to eat escargot, be incredibly careful. They must be purged. And the word is purged. Are you familiar with this?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that means starved. You have to starve escargot because what they eat, what passes through them, is unbelievably toxic. And you can get parasitic meningitis and die. So you will get severe food poisoning. So if you don't know how to prepare them, and people in Japan still eat pufferfish, known as fugu, which is insane. It tastes exactly like the completely yummy and safe fluke or hirame or flounder or yellow. It tastes the same. Why would anyone risk, and it is fatal, if even the internal organ of the pufferfish is nicked in preparation? That is enough toxin, and it's called a tetrodotoxin. Why is it all of the internal organs, not some, are lethal? The skin is lethal. You have to be certified in Japan to actually cut and serve, and people still die. Quite a few. I think about 120 people a year still die eating pufferfish.
Oh, man.
And here's something: common potatoes, right? When they're exposed to light, they become incredibly toxic. If you see green, and you will often see a greenish skin on a potato, or sprouts or tubers. So when they are exposed to, they produce huge quantities of solanine and chaconine. It's a glycoalkaloid that is incredibly, it's a neurotoxin.
Oh,
a neurotoxin.
Nice.
And okay, and this one is so much fun. I just have to say it fast.
Say.
Okay. If you've ever met a lacquer craftsperson, you will know because their skin is blistered and peeling off their body. Urushiol. What is urushiol? It is the incredibly poisonous substance in raw lacquer or lac. Now, it's processed and processed and processed. It is also the toxin in poison ivy. It is also the toxin in raw cashew nuts.
Ooh.
Yes. And how many people, hands up, have gone to an earthy, crunchy, natural food store with barrels of raw nuts, raw cashews, raw walnuts, raw peanuts? They are so dangerous because guess what? Raw cashew nuts are literally coated in urushiol, the same stuff as poison ivy. You will get unbelievably sick. And so there are more things, but I don't have too much time. So I want to give you time to do a wrap up.
Okay. So interestingly, what happens is the registry is also important because I think what happens is it stops us from making stupid mistakes. And what I mean by stupid mistakes is the things that are avoidable simply by just knowing what you know. Now, I always use the example that when in the times of more primitive thinking, when we actually had our technology wedded to superstition or religion, and we believed that if we actually sacrificed children or virgins or goats or whatever that would bring about rain, these horrible murderous actions that we took place were taking place completely out of ignorance. We know now that if we did such a stupid thing, such an asinine thing, it would be morally reprehensible because we know better. So the thing is, in the advancements of technology, as opposed by being wedded to reason, we have made an advance that has basically taken away our blinders of our ignorance in a lot of cases. Now, in terms of the registry and the librarian and what we hold of indifference, to make these stupid mistakes is inexcusable because we simply have to maintain the understanding of the principles. However, because we're more worried about the shiny gadget than understanding, we're more worried about judgment than understanding, we make stupid mistakes. In fact, I remember we had a friend who's an entomologist who basically went to a party and handed out insects to be eaten
at the Explorers Club.
And he almost killed everyone.
Yes.
Because the thing is, the knowledge that had been existing and that most people knew was, oh yeah, this is edible. You simply have to do this. Or this is edible. You simply have to do that. That simple, basic knowledge, right, that wasn't passed down, almost killed a room full of people.
They were all taken to the hospital.
Right, exactly. So the point is, we need to maintain the registry because we need to maintain the principles. Genius will take care of itself. But in the meantime, let's not kill ourselves with our stupidity, right? Which we're good at. Okay. Anyway, so last word. You have 20 seconds.
Okay. I will wind up. Never eat a mushroom raw, even an edible one. They are full of toxins which must be cooked out. And people do not understand this, even the edible mushrooms.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. So next week, the topic is the proximity of the future.
Ooh.
The realm of ideas is free to all, and it's real. Very, very real, my friend. And it's to the benefit of us all to keep it just this way.
And keep your appendix.
Yes. Stay free.
Precisely.